And good morning. And this is Magic Man in the Morning, episode 8. We're almost in double digits right now. It's amazing. Welcome. Thank you for joining us again on the Lakers Fast Break Network. I am your host, Sean Grice, aka Magic Man, and it is my pleasure to be with you this morning as we discuss all things going on in the NBA right now. And today it's a beautiful Friday, April 14th, and sun is shining. The birds are singing. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful time of year again because the Lakers happen to be in the playoffs. I remember last year, springtime is supposed to be a wrap up rejuvenation and regrowth and beautiful colors, and it was just depressing being a Lakers fan because it was just roadkill. We were roadkill at that point, and now it seems like there's a new optimism, and hopefully, it portends to a good series. I'm going to be letting everybody know about. I believe Gerald has a big playoff preview bonanza tonight, shortly after the doubleheader with the playing game. So we look forward to hopefully coming in tonight and being a part of that. If you can, please like and subscribe below. It would really help us out, and we just appreciate all your support. I know I do. I started from the bottom, and here we are. I think I'm improving with every show, and all of my guests and colleagues, plus the amazing support and mentorship that Gerald, our podfather, has given me, has allowed me to feel that I have a sense of more freedom, but yet being able to understand that this is Gerald, this is Gerald's baby, and we got to take care of it while he's not here. And I'm glad he has confidence in me. So with that, let's get it started, okay? So first up on the agenda is today the final playing games are set to determine the eighth seed in each conference. And tonight on the early slate, it's the Chicago Bulls are heading into South Beach to play the Miami Heat. Now, the Bulls played a pretty piss poor first half against the Raptors on Wednesday night. Didn't play very exceptionally well in the first. They had some moments in the first quarter, but for the most part, it was dog crap. The second half is where they really picked up. Zach LaVine scored 30 of his 39 points in the second half, and both Alex Caruso and Pat Bev both had 10 of their combined 12 points in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't just LaVine; he had secondary scoring help as well. But tonight's going to be a different animal. I expect the Bulls to win, only in the sense that just seems that with this plan scenario, it usually comes down to who's got the best player or who has the better depth. And so the best player in this game right now is Zach LaVine. It's not Jimmy Butler. So I would just favor the Heat. The Bulls in that situation. Although you never know. I mean, the Bulls could decide they're coming down with the South Beach flu, and then Miami wins. So I'm not expecting that. I expect the Bulls to win the game here. Although I will say this, as far as the coaching matchup goes, Spoelstra is a better coach than Billy Donovan, so the Heat have the edge in that one. In the second game, 9:30, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder into Target Center to play the Wolves. And as I speak right now, it looks like Rudy Gobert will be available. And we also have word that the Thunder will have everyone available to go. So it looks as though the Thunder will come up short, I think. Even though SGA is the best player in the series, there's no question about that. He's better than Ant. Don't come at me, Timberwolves fans, or any other Hooper, say under 25, who wants to argue with his skill set. It's about what you do on the floor. And SGA has just been the better player this year. Um, I would say SGA is top 5 player. That's my just personal opinion. I think if you really wanted to argue and chip away at that, he's a top 7 minimum. He's a top 7 player, and I think, is in the top 20. He was in the top 15 as last year, and people thought he was gonna possibly creak through the door into the top 10 this year. Just hasn't happened. I'm sure it will at some point, but it just hasn't happened yet. So we're looking at probably the Wolves to win. So in that sense, you've got the a potential the Wolves as the 8th seed in the East, and I think more prominently and more prudently is that the Wolves look like they're probably going to be the 8th seed in the West. I'd pencil them in right now. So as we look beyond the playing games, we're just gonna do a little bit of a playoff teaser. I know Gerald's got something planned, but just throwing out just some stats for everybody because I think that's my forte, and that's what I think people should pay attention to because I think patterns emerge from statistics. I mean, you can make what you want out of numbers any way you want, but for me, they're just pertinent, like flat out in your face stuff that you can't ignore. So when we start off, let's start off with the 4 and 5 uh, series in the West, which looks to be even though Paul George is absent, it looks like it's going to be a competitive series between the Suns and the Clippers. The big takeaway here is that with the lineup of KD, Booker, CP3, and Aiton, so you basically would throw in any other power forward in that slot, right? So in that situation, the 4-man lineup, they've had 275 possessions together. Their offensive rating is 122.9. Their defensive rating is 100.7. And that makes them a plus 22.2 over 100 possessions. So they're a plus 22 with those four on the floor. And here are the splits with those four guys: 56, almost 57% field goal percentage, over a 47% 3-point percentage, and they shoot over 85% from the field. So you're talking about a lineup that shoots almost 60, 50, and 85 with those splits. Just monster numbers. Just monster numbers. We'll see. We'll see how the Clippers adjust, but we're going to talk about this tonight. That to me is the biggest standout. As we move on, when we talk about the 3 and 6, the Kings and the Warriors, you got to talk about basically it's the Kings and Sabonis plus shooters with Foxy as a dribble and drive threat, and then you've got the Warriors basically with Splash Brothers and Jordan Poole. Um, it's impressive what that backcourt has done this year. Uh, 40 plus games this year. 40 plus games. So the Warriors have 12, excuse me. Steph is 6, Clay is 4, Poole is 2. They can light it up really fast. Really, really fast. The fact is that for the first time ever in the history of the NBA, those three players averaged over 20 points per game in the backcourt. That hasn't happened. You've had teams who've had, two guys in the front, two guys in the back, and then one on opposite side average more than 20. But there's never been a situation before until this year where three backcourt players averaged over 20 points per game. They also have established a mark as a trio with their 3-point shooting over 779 makes this year. That's incredible. That's incredible. 779 makes from beyond the arc in 82 games. You're talking about, yeah, I did the math. That's about almost 9 per game from those three guys. Just those three guys averaging almost 9 threes a game. So that's going to be interesting. I think the Kings do have the shooters to step up, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it more tonight. As we move on, we go to the Eastern Conference, and in the third slot, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. And Sixers, Bucks, and Celtics all played teeter totter with seedings all year long. It looked as though the Sixers were going to surge their way into possibly a top two seed, but it didn't happen. They kind of slowed down. Embiid couldn't keep up a pace of 45, 15, and 5 for 20 straight games. So it was only a matter of time before the Sixers kind of cooled off a little bit. However, in this series, it's very interesting, right? Gerald has talked about and Nick Molina has talked about the Nets before. The Nets are a very interesting team. I really like what Sean Marks has been able to do as far as being able to pivot like not even midstream. We were like 2/3 of the way through the year, and he was able to pivot midstream and keep his team in a playoff position. Now, granted, the Nets accumulated 34 wins with Kyrie and got KD on the roster. So I mean, the depth guys in the Nets basically carried them uh, very hard over the finish line. It wasn't easy, but they eventually were able to clinch the sixth seed. Um, Nets are missing a star. That's what they're missing, and we'll see. We'll talk more about that series later on. And the other series, probably the most interesting in all the playoffs, is the Cavs and the Knicks. Uh, Very interesting series. Both teams play strong with different styles. There's a definite advantage for one team over the other in most aspects, and then another team has a few advantages. But to me, that this is the most interesting and probably has the most meat on the bone of any playoff series we got. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm going to be, hey Juan, good morning, man. How are you today? And I think we're going to have some interesting conversations about that one. Um, and I think it's the most interesting because of the matchups. It's a matchup laden series with good players on both teams. Juan is commenting, everyone. I want to say one thing. Live out here in Phoenix. Suns are overrated. They aren't deep at all. I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers take them in 6. Juan, you're not alone, man. You're not alone. A lot of people are real, and I was surprised actually. A lot of people are very split on that series, even with the absence of Paul George, just because as Juan has stated, and we've all seen it. Just the Phoenix Suns had to trash their entire depth by trading for KD. They lost their depth, and their depth is what helped them propel them to an NBA Finals a couple of years ago. So they're bereft depth, and they need to rely on basically they can play a 7 to 8 man unit, but they really rely on 6 guys basically. And like Juan said, the Clippers have depth that the Suns don't. So that's another interesting little trinket in that series. And as we move on, the 2-7 series in the East, we'll again discuss that tonight. The Hawks and the Celtics. The Hawks have, very like solid depth. They have multiple guys who can score 15 points per game if you need them to. And then along with Trey's contributions, Celtics are a superior team. So we're going to talk about that, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be much of a conversation. Uh, the Lakers and Memphis, to me, that the 43 and 39 isn't really indicative of the team we are, but that's our record. You are what your record says you are. That's what Parcells always said. I believe that too. Juan wants to say one last take. All our Lakers have to do is focus on getting AD the ball, and the game planner is around him, and we will win the basketball game. I agree, Juan. I agree. I think the plan should be sans Steven Adams because he's not in there to act as a buffer and the hardest screen sitter I've ever seen live or on TV. I mean, you can if you have surround sound or a strong smart HD TV, you can hear Steven Adams hitting guys right in the collarbones, right in the shoulders, right in the he goes for broke when he's playing hard. Triple J Triple J is very has a ferocity with a finesse. It's not really an intimidation factor with him as say a Steven Adams, who's more in the vogue of a KG or a Sheed, which very intimidating. Um, so I think if AD just or LeBron, if you could pick up two quick fouls on Triple J, um, that would bode really well. That would bode really well. And I'm not Gerald Glassford. I saw that. I couldn't make the correction. This is Magic Man, aka Sean Grace, and I'm glad everybody's here for an early rendition of Magic Man in the morning. And so that's all we know for the playoffs right now. The eight seeds are still to be determined. Again, just to reiterate, I think the Heat go 1, 2, 3 Cancun. I think they're planning on going on vacation early. I don't think that OKC has the requisite defensive DNA to defeat Minnesota in a winner take all game, especially on the road. So I expect the Wolves to win that game. And before we head on out, I just wanted to state we're doing our own in-house awards selections, and we've gone through a few of them so far. And as we keep going down the ledger, we see that we're going to give out the Sixth Man of the Year award, and to me, this is the most competitive individual award array race in the NBA, along with the DPOY, the Defensive Player of the Year. I think those two should be the closest voting, and if they're not, it just goes to tell you what these voters are not watching. So as we look at the who is contributing off the benches here, well, a couple guys stand out immediately, right? So Emmanuel Quickly and Malcolm Brogdon have probably been the two best six mans in the NBA. Both off the bench, both can provide offense. Both are also very capable of playmaking, although Brogdon is a slightly better playmaker than Quickly. But I do love the fact that Quickly can get hot very quickly. It's you can't call him microwave because Vinny Johnson was microwave, but I know skillet quick, skillet quick. That's kind of what he reminds me. It's just it's very hot and it's very quick. His shot and his ability to fill up the bucket. There were other contributors as well. For the longest time, I thought Norm Powell might be Sixth Man of the Year because he had gained the pole position in that scenario. At one point, Benedict Mathurin had the most bench points in the NBA. That that ticked down slowly as they ticked down slowly. They started to rest Tyrese Halliburton, so that also limits a lot of what other guys can do on that team. And unfortunately, when Halliburton is hurt and or is sitting, it affects somebody like Benedict Mathurin. So his bench play was really really great, definitely, but he's just not. He ran out of steam. He's not gonna win the award. Uh, Bobby Portis out of the Central Division as well, another guy off the Bucks bench who was very, very solid. And then in the West, outside of Norm Powell, you really had you really only had Christian Wood, and we know what a disaster the Mavs were. But honestly, Christian Wood was one of the reasons why the Mavs won games they shouldn't have won or were in games they shouldn't have been in. Yeah, Scarlet and Blue, I'm singing that Eric Carmen song all by myself. I had to look up who sang that song. I remember hearing it, but I didn't remember who sang it. Yeah, Joe is on the road. Joe's on the road, or that's what he says. Joe says he's on the road. He's busy. We'll take Joe at his word. I believe him. So let's go through the voting, okay? Roll call. So we'll start with Nick Molina. Nick Molina has IQ5 number one, the sixth man, Brogdon number two, Portis number three, Matherin number four, Wood number five. Magic Man, that would be me. It's IQ5 number one, Brogdon number two, Norm Powell number three, Christian Wood number four, Benedict Matherin number five. Courtside, Lakers, shout out to Henry. Henry has quickly won, Brogdon two, Portis three. He kept it short. Tom Wong from Lakerholics had IQ, Brogdon, Portis, Matherin, Wood. So me and Tom are basically just flip flopping Matherin and Wood there. He had Portis, I had Powell. Gerald has a unique list. Gerald was IQ5 number one, Brogdon number two. I believe he had Bobby Portis number three, Tyus Jones number four, and Austin Reeves number five. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Austin Reeves got a couple first place votes for sixth man. He was very steady off the bench for the Lakers. And he's not going to win it, but he was definitely noticeable, even nationally. It really started last year when he picked up steam in the second half, and then that triple double in the last game against the Nuggets. Even though nobody outside of us as Laker fans remember it, it was noticeable, and Austin's picked up the slack, dusted himself off, and is now no longer a bench player. So I mean, I don't think he would have gotten the award anyway. But Austin's impact goes way beyond the scoreboard. As far as guys on that list who do, Tyus Jones is another one. Tyus Jones is probably the most efficient guard in the NBA. He's been the turnover to assist leader for the past 5 years. He averages less than one turnover a game. So Tyus Jones has not turned the ball over. That's a very underrated selection by Gerald, and well earned. Tyus Jones often gets lost in the shuffle in Memphis. Tyus Jones could start for about 25 out of 30 teams in the NBA. That's how good he is. So he's definitely starting caliber worthy. Uh, I just it doesn't appear that he's got the attitude of, you know, let me be a starter. I mean, you're not going to start over John Morant. That there's just a realization there. But if Tyus Jones wanted to be a starter, he could go to Memphis's front office and say, "I want to be a starter. Please trade me. I know it's not realistic here. This is Jaw's team." If Tyus Jones wanted to do that, he has the chutzpah from his play on the court to do that. I'm just not sure he ever would. It's kind of like Lamar with the Lakers, right? When Lamar was winning sixth man of the year, and by the way, I think he's probably one of the most underrated sixth man of the year award winners ever. Lamar could have started for other teams. He really could have, and it just his decision was, I'm cool with what we're building here and the culture we have, and I'm gonna come off the bench. So I think that's Tyus Jones's attitude as well. So with that, it looks like it was a clean sweep for IQ as far as the Lakers fast break colleagues and panelists are concerned. It's really close. It's really close. If Brogdon does win it, I'm not gonna shake my head or shrug or anything. It's very close. I just think Emmanuel Quickly has done more with less off his bench. All due respect, than Brogdon has done with the Celtics, even with their injuries here and there. I think Brogdon has had more to work with. Quickly's had to adjust both coming off the bench and starting as well, which I know a lot of Celtics fans will say, "Oh well, Emmanuel Quickly he started a few games, so how can you really give him the sixth man of the year?" Because he was just better at it, just a little bit better at it than Brogdon was, because he was asked to start games and then he went back to the bench. You know, Tom's often said he was asked to go to the bench and he didn't like it because the rationale that the coaching staff had for him, for their reasoning, was that, well, Tom, we need some scoring and some pop off the bench, and since you're the only guy who can provide it in the starting unit, we're going to put you on the bench. And Tom didn't like that idea. And I think, from Tom's rationale was, you shouldn't just have a scorer come off the bench because he's a scorer and you need bench scoring. There's no purpose to that. There's no purpose to that. Your sixth man could average 25 points and your team could still stink. So it's got to be within a flow. And I think that's the difference with IQ. He stayed in the flow when he came off the bench, and he stayed in the flow when he went back to the bench. Yeah, well, I mean, we got. I have to fill up some time here, Scarlett, because I'm by myself. But we're going to keep going down the rung as far as the awards go. I think we'll probably end up doing a DPOY. Joe will probably announce that in the next couple of days. But you know what? This is a pretty good Magic Man in the morning, I thought. Unfortunately, I'm by myself, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm doing the best I can, trying to give you as much information as we can. I'm still going through the permutations of the Lakers and Grizzlies series. I know basically everybody's given their predictions in house. I haven't yet. I'm still thinking about it. I think I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on, and I'm leaning towards to the Lakers. So I'll have my final prediction tonight. It was a great show. Unfortunately, I was by myself. I tried to keep everything condensed as possible, and just plugging away here. Just we want to be the number one Lakers podcasting show. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're trying to be the best. And that means getting you guys as much content as possible. As possible. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Juan. I want to thank Scarlet and Blue. I know Serge and Johnny 2K said they would check it out later. So I appreciate everybody's support. We're all rocking it together. This is Sean Grace, aka Magic Man. This is Magic Man in the Morning, episode 8. Hopefully everybody enjoys their Friday wherever they are. It's beautiful here. I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you tonight after the plan for the preview playoff bonanza. Bye, everybody.